You lie in the dark and the conversation plays again. A single exchange from this afternoon, or a message you sent 3 hours ago, or the meeting where you said that one thing and now you cannot remember if your voice sounded confident or if everyone noticed the hesitation. The clock reads late, and you know you should be drifting, but instead you are replaying, revising, rehearsing what you might say tomorrow if someone asks, or if they misunderstood, or if the silence means something you have not yet figured out. The mind that served you all day now refuses to stop serving, turning every word into a puzzle, every pause into evidence of something larger. This is the peculiar cruelty of overthinking at night. The same intelligence that solves problems during daylight becomes, in the absence of distraction, a machine that manufactures problems from shadows. You replay the same 30 seconds of dialogue until the words lose meaning. You imagine outcomes that have not happened and may never happen, yet they feel urgent, demanding your attention right now, as though worrying in advance will somehow prepare you or protect you. The Stoics understood this trap. They saw how the mind, left unguided, does not rest but instead chases itself in circles, mistaking motion for progress, mistaking worry for care. Seneca's lesson points toward a simple distinction that changes everything once you see it. He would ask what, exactly, you are trying to solve by lying here in the dark, turning the same thought over and over. If the conversation is finished, if the message is sent, if the decision is made, then what remains is not a problem but a memory, and memory does not require solving. The mind wants to treat everything as though it were still open, still within reach of your control. But most of what we replay at night is already done, already spoken, already beyond the boundary of what we can change. The Stoic practice is not to suppress the thought but to see it clearly and ask whether this thinking serves any purpose other than feeding itself. Marcus would remind us that the mind is capable of stepping back from its own loops. He spent nights in military camps, responsible for legions, aware of dangers he could not fully predict or prevent. He knew what it was to lie awake with too many variables, too many voices, too many possible mistakes. Yet his private notes return again and again to one instruction, to himself and to us across the centuries. He said the mind can choose where it directs its gaze. It can choose not to be dragged by every impression, every fear, every replay of what was said or left unsaid. The freedom he describes is not the freedom from thought but the freedom to guide thought, to decide what deserves the energy of worry and what does not. When you catch yourself replaying that conversation, the Stoic response is not to shame yourself for overthinking. It is to pause and name what is happening. You are giving attention to something finished. You are rehearsing a defense for an accusation that has not been made. You are trying to control, retroactively, something that is no longer yours to control. This naming is not cold or dismissive. It is clear-eyed. It is the first step toward dignity under the pressure of your own thoughts. Epictetus taught that we suffer not because of events but because of the judgments we layer onto events. The conversation happened. That is a fact. The story you are telling yourself about what it means, about what they think, about what comes next, that is the judgment, and the judgment is where you still have choice. The discipline here is gentle but firm. When the thought comes again, because it will, you do not fight it or try to force it away. You simply notice it, as you would notice a bird landing on a branch outside your window. The bird is there. You do not need to follow it into the trees. You do not need to build a story about why it landed or where it will go next. You let it be what it is, a momentary presence, and you return your attention to what is actually here, in this room, in this breath, in this body that needs rest. The Stoics called this the discipline of attention, and it is one of the most practical tools they left us. You are not trying to empty your mind. You are training it to recognize when it has wandered into territory that does not serve you, and to come back. There is a particular flavor of overthinking that arrives late at night, the kind that fixates on whether you said the right thing, whether you were understood, whether you have damaged something without meaning to. This is not selfishness. It is often a sign of care, of wanting to do well by others, of wanting to be seen clearly. But the Stoics would ask you to consider whether this late-night worry actually honors that care or whether it distorts it. Seneca's writing suggests that we often mistake anxiety for responsibility. We think that by worrying we are being conscientious, but worry is not the same as thoughtful action. If there is something to repair, you will repair it tomorrow with a clear mind and honest words. If there is nothing to repair, then the worry is not preparation, it is only noise, and it steals from you the rest you need to meet tomorrow with steadiness. Marcus wrote that the mind should be like a fortress, not to keep the world out but to keep its own order within. When racing thoughts arrive, the fortress does not collapse. It does not pretend the thoughts are not there. It simply does not let them dictate terms. You can acknowledge that yes, you are thinking about that conversation again, and yes, it feels important, and also, you can choose not to follow that feeling into another hour of sleepless revision. This is not suppression. It is sovereignty. It is the quiet act of saying, I see you, thought, and I will attend to you tomorrow if you still matter, but right now I am choosing rest. One of the most useful Stoic ideas for nights like this is the question Epictetus would pose to his students. He would ask, is this thing within your control or outside it? If it is outside your control, why are you spending your strength on it? If it is within your control, what is the next right action? Most of what we overthink at night falls into the first category. The other person's reaction, their private judgment, the way they interpreted your tone, these are outside your control. You cannot reach into their mind and adjust their thoughts. You cannot undo what was said. You cannot know for certain what they are thinking right now. All of that is beyond the line. What remains within the line is narrow but real. You can decide, tomorrow, whether there is a conversation worth having. You can choose to be honest if something needs clarifying. You can act with integrity in the next interaction. But tonight, lying here, replaying, imagining, none of that is action. It is only rehearsal for a play that may never be performed. The practice, then, is to notice when you have crossed into the territory of what you cannot control and to gently step back. This is not resignation. It is precision. It is the recognition that your energy is finite and precious, and that spending it on the unreachable is a kind of violence against yourself. You would not stand in your garden at midnight trying to make the flowers grow faster by worrying at them. You would trust that they will grow in their time, with sunlight and water and patience. The same applies to the outcomes you fear or hope for. They will unfold according to forces larger than your late-night revisions. Your task is to tend to what is yours, and right now, what is yours is the choice to let your body rest. There is something almost tender in the Stoic approach to overthinking. It does not demand that you become someone who never worries, never replays, never doubts. It simply asks that you treat yourself with the same reasonableness you would offer a friend. If a friend came to you at this hour, spinning the same thought in circles, you would not tell them to think harder. You would not tell them to solve it right now. You would say, gently, that some things need distance, that clarity comes with rest, that they have done enough for today. The Stoics invite you to offer yourself that same kindness, not as indulgence but as wisdom. As you lie here now, you can let the thoughts come and go like weather. They do not need your permission to arrive, and they do not need your energy to leave. You are not the storm. You are the one who watches the storm and knows it will pass. Seneca's words suggest that we often fear our own minds more than we fear external events, but the mind, like the body, responds to training. Each time you notice the loop and choose not to follow it, you are training. Each time you return to the present, to the weight of your head on the pillow, to the quiet of this room, you are practicing the discipline that builds a steadier inner life. This is not dramatic. It is not a single victory. It is the slow accumulation of small refusals to be pulled under by what cannot be changed tonight. Let the conversation rest. Let the message stand as it is. Let tomorrow bring what it brings, and trust that you will meet it with the same decency and clarity you have always brought. The racing thoughts do not mean you are broken. They mean you are human, and they mean you care. But care does not require sleeplessness. It requires presence, and presence begins with the choice to be here, now, letting the mind settle like water after a stone has been thrown. The ripples will fade. The surface will calm. And you, having chosen rest over rehearsal, will wake with a little more room to see clearly and act well. That is enough. That has always been enough. Let yourself sleep.